The US and Europe are no longer allies. It's pretty much official, even though officially it's unspoken. But here's the deal, and here's the reason why. Firstly, neither of the co-presidents of the United States are a trusted link between the States and Europe. There's no meeting of minds. Firstly, with Musk, the way he has attacked the government of the United Kingdom and then also interfered in German politics is quite overtly aggressive in terms of what he's trying to achieve, and very aggressive and disrespectful towards the European Union and regulation that the European Union has in order to protect and safeguard citizens, or in terms of his platform and other issues. And then there's Donald Trump, of course, who not only in terms of Greenland failed to rule out military intervention, but more importantly, recently, in terms of Ukraine, decided that he is just going to talk to the enemy first, Putin, before he talks to the ally, Zelensky in Ukraine, and make a deal directly with them, cutting out China, and more importantly, cutting out Ukraine and Europe. So that clearly indicates that he does not see Europe as a whole, or Ukraine, which is part of Europe, integrally a part of Europe now and going forwards, doesn't see them as allies. So then the question is, you can still remain allies if you've got someone in the administration that you can talk to and work with. And that no longer exists, thanks to J.D. Vance coming over and at the Munich Security Conference, instead of focusing on how can we work together on common security threats, decides to lay into Europe and preach about values, which is the most bizarre case of Freudian projection I have ever seen, when he starts accusing Europe of losing its fundamental values that bind the US and Europe. But he did it. And lots of people think that it was completely nuts, and it shows that he is not someone that can be engaged with. And beyond the simple point of it, if he's talking about free speech and democracy, his own White House recently booted out the Associated Press for not kneeling before Zod on the issue of the Gulf of America, which any international organization doesn't have to recognize, because regardless of what decrees happen, anyway, to actually boot out people from being allowed access to the president or anyone nearby because they don't agree formally on a particular issue is absolute and aggressive repression of free speech. And on the democracy front, we only need to say January the 6th and the weeks preceding it in terms of understanding the issues around democracy that America itself has. So not only was it hypocritical, but also it was ardently aggressive towards Europe. It was America coming to Europe to interfere in our business and the way we run things in a way that Europe has never done to the States on official levels or anything like that. And it means that there is now no real link of dialogue between the States and Europe. And so, given also the random behavior of Trump and Musk and now Vance on a regular basis, who can make plans based on that? There's no security and certainty going forward. You would be wasting your time spending effort and endeavor trying to think about how you build there productively, because it can turn on a dime and bite you in the arse just like that. So it's quite clear that Europe needs to become a lot more self-sufficient, and that's the EU, but the UK needs to get close as well. For Greenland and Iceland and other entities, and Canada, other entities that feel somewhat caught between the two, they know which is the more reliable partner. And so then this is simply where we are. And it is because America, and You would have never thought half a year ago that we would be at a situation where we're not saying the US and Europe are enemies, but at least clearly not allies. This is unthinkable concepts as of, 6 months ago. But it has turned that fast that this is where we are, and I'm hearing lots of people saying it. And the faster we embrace that and deal with that, the better we're going to be on our side of the pond. And I don't know how much this bothers the States, but when you pull the plug on US aid, which is your soft power around the world, and when you pull the plug on your relationship with Europe, particularly on an issue like Ukraine, where Europe feels threatened by this, and you see Donald Trump praising Putin and wanting to bring him back into the game, thereby threatening actually an extension of the war and the death of lots of soldiers and citizens, then you realize that the dynamic has changed overnight, and this is where we are. And I would like to say at this stage to all of the Americans of a similar mind who are friendly with Europe, value European values and value who we are on this side of the pond. We see you, we care about you, we understand your pain, and we, I think, increasingly will be seeking to build those bridges of common resistance to what we see on this side as a complete undermining of the West by an aggressive technocratic entity that does not have the interests of Europe or America at heart, but rather their own collective powers as bullies in the world. And this is very clearly where we are. We can't be Chamberlain about it. We have to be Churchill about it. But we still see you, and we still want to work with you and be friends with you. And thank you, social media, rational social media links that exist, so that we can keep talking and working together. And but yeah, I mean, watch this space, because it will be developing quickly, and those be the thoughts from many Brits and other Europeans.